What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined by Rachel Mogan.
How's it going?
Going well, going well. We're back at it, recording again after the Labor Day weekend. It was Labor Day, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I never get those right.
I always get Memorial Day and Labor Day confused.
Yeah, same.
And all they mean for me, respectively, is a 3-day weekend on either side.
There we go. Boom. Play some video games, chill, relax, go visit some family.
Exactly.
It's a good time. But we're back again with a new episode for you all to enjoy this wonderful Tuesday morning. Now, for those of you who are listening for the first time, this is Team Chat Podcast, a video game show where we talk about video games, obviously. The ones we love, the ones we hate, and everything in between. Like I said, new episodes come out every single Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central Time, and you can find those across podcast services around the World Wide Web, as well as watch the video version on YouTube and Twitch. Now, I do have to give a quick little caveat here. We're figuring out some different things with Twitch, because Twitch decided that they won't allow you to do premieres of videos until you've hit affiliate status. And we're not quite there yet at affiliate status. So until that time, I got to figure out a different workaround for the Twitch stuff. So they might not be up right at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. Those might come out a little bit later because I'll have to actually play the episode as a live stream to get it onto Twitch first. So I'll figure it out. I'll work it through. So those might not be as readily available. But you can still watch either the episodes there or some gameplay videos and stuff that we put up too. So Guacamelee 2. That's all up there, which is actually little hint. There's what we're talking about today.
You didn't have to spoil it, Jerrett. They wouldn't have known until we got
technically they would have
minutes.
Because I've always thought about that. I've actually thought about this. Has been one thing that I've thought about because we put it up and sometimes we like to act like, ooh, we're not going to tell you what the topic is. But they know what the topic is because they see it in the episode title when they pull it up on their phone. Exactly. They see it on YouTube, whatever. They see the cover image art that I make for it every time. So they know.
We should really start messing with people and do totally unrelated cover art and titles that don't make sense.
Nope, that's not what we're talking about today.
Yeah, that's
that would be
we should
that'd
do
be pretty
for
funny.
April Fool's Day.
Ooh, that would be good. Well, now you told them all.
Well, they're not going to remember this.
That's true.
In 6
September,
months?
April. Yeah, it's a ways away.
I don't know. I can't count. Anyways, they're definitely not going to remember.
That's very true.
Gamer brains,
That's
no
very
memory
true.
span.
Yeah, I got that. But if you'd also like to follow us on social media, you can do that as well by finding us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can also send us an email with either general feedback that you have, questions, comments, whatever, teamchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also join our Discord server. And if you'd want to support the show because you really love what we're doing, you can head over to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, where it's for as little as $1 a month. You can support the show, and in return, we'll give you a cool perk like getting the episodes early before the general Tuesday release and access to a private channel on our Discord specifically for our patrons, the Rogues Gallery.
The Rogues Gallery.
It's a fun place. Great conversation, great fun. You should check it out. Discord, Patreon, patreon.com/teamchatpodcast. But before we get onto our main topic, which is, as I said, Guacamelee 2, we are going to get a little bit of news in our moment with Mogan.
So it's a weird Tuesday here on September 11th. Not a lot is actually coming out, but very soon on September 14th, we do have Nintendo Labo Vehicle Kit for the Switch
new thing
is
for that.
coming out. Yes, so that'll be a new kit for the already existing Nintendo Labo. We also have NHL 19.
Ooh, I'm so
I gather
excited.
that's a sports game for PS4. I'm kidding. I know it's hockey. It's hockey, right?
Yeah, it's hockey.
God.
I know it's a sports game. It's hockey,
I know
right?
it's a
no, it's
sport.
basketball.
I'd be so mad. Anyways, NHL 19 for PS4 and Xbox One September 14th. Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Oh, yeah.
Again, I cannot believe that this is coming out so soon. I feel like it feels too early.
It does seem really quick from Rise of the Tomb Raider. Although I guess that's
really
been
quick.
2-3 years because the first reboot was 2013.
No, it was 2012, wasn't it?
It might have been. It might have been 2012, and then 2013 is when the definitive editions for PS4.
And then 2014 was Rise, right?
No, it had to have
would
been 15.
Yeah, it had to be 15
Had
or
to have
16.
been 15 or 16.
Anyways, the point is...
It does seem still like we're getting a lot of...
It feels too soon. So Shadow of the Tomb Raider for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. So they are not doing what they did with the previous games. It's not going to be a temporary Xbox exclusive. Thank God.
Yeah, that was dumb.
That was real dumb. Anyway, September 14th.
It was an Xbox exclusive for like a year.
Yeah, it was. It sure was.
It was dumb.
And then we have Black Clover Quartet Knights for PS4 and PC September 14th, and then coming soon, Insurgency Sandstorm for PC September 18th. Undertale hits the Switch on September 18th. Obviously, that's just a port from an existing game, but still. And Blind for PSVR and PC, also September 18th.
Very nice, very nice. Man, so I'd originally decided, speaking of like games that are coming out soon and all that, or at this point, games that are already out. So my initial thoughts on the new Spider-Man game that's come out.
Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
Oh, I thought you. Sorry, I misheard you. I thought you said Splatterman,
No.
and I was like, "What is this, Jerrett?"
It's Splatoon DLC. You haven't played it yet.
I was like, "That sounds like it might be."
But so I have to say, I originally was kind of like, granted, the game always looked great from all the trailers and everything that they showed off. Looked like it would be a lot of fun, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really feeling it though, especially because I'm gonna have Assassin's Creed Odyssey coming out pretty soon. And then Red Dead 2 at the end of next month. I was just like, I got some purchases coming up. I don't know if I really want to play this one right now. It might be one that I sleep on for a little bit. But oh man, it's out now. I'm seeing all the videos and like GIFs and stuff that people are putting up and everything about it. I gotta say,
So the only thing
I want to play it bad now.
about that
Jonesing.
game that I was interested in is the ability to do finger guns at random people on the street.
you walk by saying
yeah,
hello.
I think that's pretty cool. But again, I like from a moral perspective, I stick to my guns. Spider-Man needs to go away. I am so Spider-Man out.
That was part of my thing about it too.
Like,
It's
I
like we've
just
had
can't do
countless
any more
amount of
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man movies. We've had Spider-Man games in the past, but I will say this one, and that was kind of my main thing too. I was just like, I'm kind of tired of Spider-Man, but the game does though look like a lot of fun. My buddy
don't
Michael's been playing it,
care.
and he's like, it's fun. I was like, damn it, I knew
I'm
it.
sure it probably is fun. I just couldn't care less because it's Spider-Man.
I'll get it at some point. I will get it. It's just not one that I was like, I don't want to do game day release of.
They could have
so that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is why this episode is not first impressions of Spider-Man because neither of us, we've got some bigger things coming up later in the year that we wanted to save our money for. So
Also,
remember,
I'll
gamers on a
never
budget,
play
you know?
the new Spider-Man game ever.
There you go. It's
On
her second Uncharted.
My last hill battle stand. I will
hill
not
I
do
die
it. The
on.
hill I die on will be I will not play the new Spider-Man game.
But speaking of new things, one other quick little side before we jump to Guacamelee 2 is I did play the Battlefield 5 beta.
Ah, yes.
This past weekend.
Indeed. Now, did the presence of women just totally ruin it for you,
I
bro?
literally-
Were you like, I can't stand it, there's women everywhere?
I
Did you rage
signed
quit?
on. I downloaded it, immediately saw the cover art was a woman soldier. Instant rage.
Instant rage.
I just immediately was just like, well, this is going to suck.
It's just an
The
unplayable
gameplay,
game.
yeah, it's just going to be terrible.
It's just going to be terrible.
I obviously we're all in jest here. We're all
We're
kidding.
totally
I
kidding.
do give
Here
zero
at-
fucks
here
that
at
there are
Team Chat
women
Podcast,
soldiers
we
in it. I think
hate
it's
women.
awesome. But no, so this got very controversial very quick. Oh, recover. Okay.
Recover.
But obviously no, that played no bearing at all. No, it had no impact at all. I thought it was a very great addition. I mean, at this point too, there wasn't a whole lot of it being because this is only multiplayer.
It's just the beta.
Yeah, it's just the beta. It's just the multiplayer. It's not like I'm playing the campaign and like interacting with female characters in that way that are female soldiers and all that stuff that are in the actual campaign mode. But you know that again, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't
matter. It's awesome that it's being inclusive in that way. And also, for all the people saying that, like, oh, there weren't women in World War II, shut up.
It's like,
just shut up.
Do you
There
think
obviously
women were invented in the 70s?
Did they just hide? No, they were right out there helping out and fighting, doing everything. So
And
it's-
getting killed.
Yeah,
So
and
they
getting
deserve
killed.
to still be there.
Exactly, they deserve to be in the video games. Damn it. But anyway, so I played this. Basically, I focused on the main mode that they had available, which was the Conquest, which is the big one. If you remember, I don't remember if you played. Did you play anything in Battlefield 1?
I've never played I've never touched a Battlefield game. Ever.
So they have this mode called Conquest, which basically is this massive, 64 players, and everything in there.
It's kind of like their Battle Royale mode.
It's not really a battle royale mode because it's still divided into teams. So
Okay.
it's 2 teams of 32.
Oh, it's just a really big.
It's just
okay,
huge.
I
It's just
gotcha.
massive. And the game, like the timer for the game is like 45 minutes.
Wow,
It's-
seriously?
It's long.
Holy crap.
So they had 2
I don't have
maps.
45 minutes to spare. Who do they think we are?
Honestly, that's one thing. I'll get to that in a second. But so they had 2 maps on there, Rotterdam, and then this one that was set in Russia is like a snowy village and everything like that. Rotterdam was like a city map. And it was this thing, I was playing it, and I'd seen a couple other people on Twitter talking about it, but really but before I had seen any of that and gotten into any of it, it was instantly felt like very much similar Battlefield in that you can die very quickly. It's very you have to be very on the whole time. Like you'll just get sniped from somebody way the hell far away because it feels like it takes like 2 bullets to kill you. But the thing is though, because I played Battlefield 1, and this Battlefield 1 is World War 1. This Battlefield 5 or Battlefield V for victory is World War 2. And so they have a lot of similar feel in that regard. There's not a whole lot different, but it also didn't feel it felt very slow.
Really?
Mm-hmm. If it just felt very like Battlefield 1, it would have some slow parts, especially if you were playing in the Conquest map, which normally I didn't, just because 45 minutes for a game mode is a really long time.
That's a really long time.
It's a very long time. And I often found that just like I would be playing, and maybe it's because the maps are so big, I felt like I still had a hard time finding people. I sent out a series of tweets. I don't know if you saw them.
No.
Okay, so I sent out a series of tweets. I'm actually going to pull up these tweets. These are going to act as my notes. This is fine. Because...
And while you do that, I will just say that, like, from my perspective, the only online games where I've played where it took that long to do a single match, it's not even close. Like, the closest I've ever gotten is an overtime match in Overwatch, for example, which might go to a grand total of like 25 minutes.
Right. But also...
And even then, I still view that as being a long-ass game.
Well, and two, Overwatch has a lot of action happening in it.
Yeah.
This is my big thing about it. So here's the first one I said. The Battlefield 5 beta plays very rough, even for a beta. Rottenham map feels unfinished. Some textures look unrendered. Because, like, there would be certain... Granted, I know it's beta. Like, I know it's beta. But still, there would be some rooms in Rottenham that would just be, like, empty rooms. You'd run into it. There would just be nothing there. You'd be kind of, like, breaking, I guess, the glass to get in it. But then there sometimes would be glass, sometimes wouldn't be glass. I don't know. It just had a very... Like, I saw somebody playing it on Twitch first. And even then, them playing it, I was like... This doesn't look very good, but maybe it's just because I'm watching it on the stream. You know, there's latency, some like stuff like that. But then I got into it and I was still like, overall, yes, it's still very pretty, still looks very good. But there are specific elements like that. I just kept being like, this doesn't look finished yet. There on the winter map that they had, which the name of it is eluding me right now.
The snowy map.
There's this pile of coal that you can climb up on. And I was noticing, granted, it's a pile of coal. I'm not expecting like pristine imagery here, but it looked like a very older, like rough texture, just like kind of like applied over it, not like, you know, once you got up close to it.
Like they made a cone and then just applied texture.
Yeah, it just kind of looked, it just didn't look polished, basically. Yeah. I mean, overall, like the gunplay, the cities, but that will say one thing, it was almost so pretty, it was hard to see people. And like there wasn't a big enough discernible difference to me in the uniform differences between allies and enemies. And in the time it takes me, the like milliseconds it takes me to register that's an enemy or not, they've already killed me.
And is there friendly fire? Can you potentially...
No, there's not friendly fire.
Bummer.
At least not in this setting, how we were playing.
I would love for there to be friendly fire.
So I said, some textures look unfinished, and when you aren't killed by the wind of a passing bullet, it can take forever to actually find enemies because of map size, making for slow gameplay.
Right.
Which literally would happen. You get spawned on like the far end of the map. You have to... I mean, you can choose spawn points based on either your squad, or you can do it based on like objective location. But still, you can spawn there, run in and run around for forever, not find, like literal, it felt like minutes, not find people, and then the first person you find kills you, which then leads into the next thing that made it feel slower is the new revive system they have, which basically you get shot, it takes a couple seconds as it like shows your body on the ground, but then the camera like zooms back into first person perspective to show you revive, which gives you the option to like call for help. You hold down R2, you can call for help, or you can bleed out by holding down L2. You know, so if there's hopefully a teammate nearby who could come over and revive you and bring you up and put you right back in the action. Nobody ever revived me. And I could never find people to revive.
Yeah.
You know, and so you wind up laying there for the 10-ish seconds it takes for you to then bleed out
and just respawn.
And respawn. But then you have to wait another like 10 seconds for the normal respawn counter. So you die. Not only is it taking what feels like minutes to walk around this map and run around and find people, you get shot in 2 seconds of finding somebody. Then you have to spend 25 seconds, whatever, laying on the ground waiting to revive, and then you come back, and then that cycle just repeat for forever.
I mean, that sounds like the same kind of annoyance and frustration and rage that I get during the Monster Hunter World load screens.
Oh, really?
Where it's like, why? Why is it taking this long?
Like I get having the option, because yeah, if you are playing with a group who is really well coordinated, you're all on mics, you're all talking to each other, be like, hey, I'm down, come get me, come pick me up. It would be a great feature. other than having to wait automatically for you to respawn. But not having that option be skippable. Holding down L2 makes it faster, but not skippable.
Yeah.
If I'm playing, like I tried, I would like be like, hey, come revive me, holding down the button. Nobody would ever revive me.
Probably because they couldn't find you.
Or no, people would be like running over me. Like I would literally be in the midst of my teammates being like, hey, 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 hey. Nobody would come and get me. And I was just like, okay, this is dumb. So it just made it feel very, very slow. Overall,
now, so what besides revive me is the communication in game like?
I mean, you can ask for ammo, you can ask for healing.
And is this on a ping wheel? How does this happen?
Yeah, it does a ping
okay.
wheel. R1 actually ran, which felt really an awkward like control scheme choice. Was like R1 was where you would pick your thing. I don't know, but anyway, so I played that and I played for a while. I played several matches and just overall. It just felt slow. Granted, it felt very much Battlefield-esque, and like there were tons of, like you can blow up anything and destroy any building, which is a really cool thing and makes it feel like it. But I just didn't get the same feel. The Battlefield 1 felt more actiony, felt more frenetic. I saw one person on Twitter, they even commented how it was quiet. And I was like, oh yeah. After I saw that and played it, I was like, oh yeah, it is really quiet. It's supposed to be a massive battlefield and it's very quiet. You're hearing other enemy fire, but there aren't just like random bomb explosion sounds going off. It just felt quiet. Again, that could be just beta. They just put it out there to get you a little taste. But I was not impressed by the taste.
And what's the release date for Battlefield 5?
It got pushed to November now because it was coming out like right before or right after Red Dead. Everyone's like, it's not gonna play. So it has like 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like beta should happen way earlier on.
Yeah.
That way they can suss out these kinds of problems and try and fix them with a bit more time to spare.
Oh, and the other thing too is when you did die, it would then do like not a kill cam, but it would show you like a camera on one of your squad members. It was so jerky.
Really?
Like
just
skipping frame, like skipping movement, and just I was like, this is like I'm getting a headache having to watch this.
God.
So just little things like that just felt. I legitimately was like, I've never enjoyed Battlefield as much as say Call of Duty. I've always liked the Call of Duty series better, but I have enjoyed what I've played of Battlefield. So I did really like Battlefield 1. I thought how Battlefield 1 did its single player campaign with the war stories was really great. So it gave you these little tastes of the war from different theaters, and I liked the multiplayer. And that's what I said in my tweets too. I was just like, hopefully they might release a team deathmatch mode later on that I could play with smaller maps, more confined space and easier to get into the action quicker, and then it might be more fun. Yeah. Maybe it's just this conquest mode is not my cup of tea.
I mean, I feel very much the same way. Those big, massive battle styles, that's not my cup of tea. Like, I either prefer to play primarily alone or in a smaller team, like 4 to 6 people max. I feel like once you get into you've got 20 people on your team kind of thing, it just never really seems to work out for me.
Yeah, agreed. But I mean, of the other things, the gunplay was really fun. They did introduce a new mechanic into it where you only really have like 2 magazines worth of ammo. And you have to either salvage it or scrounge for it from dead bodies, or there are the like ammo pickups that you can pick up stuff from, which I thought that was nice. It makes you really got to think about it, but you can't just like run headlong and run into like a room of 20 people and then have enough ammo to like last forever. You've got to really kind of be careful. You can't just unload and be just spraying and praying basically.
Can you punch if you run out of ammo?
I mean, you do have like a melee attack with like a knife or something like that. So all that stuff was there. I did like the gunplay. I did like the combat when I got to be into it. And I still did there were a couple points where I got like a 4 or 5 kill streak, which felt really good when that happened. Again, the indestructible environments is nice. I like immediately, and I even tweeted and made it. But this
I really wish
meme of the sales slaps Battlefield 5. This game could fit so many fucking destructible environments in it. But because all that stuff is really cool to see. But it was just the main the pacing of it felt so slow, and that just kind of really turned me off.
And I mean, for an action-based online multiplayer game, that's the exact opposite of what you want people to feel like. Yep. That's very unfortunate.
So, I mean, I hope that maybe they'll release some later modes and everything later on to play, or maybe that's just what we're going to get. There were a couple other different modes that I didn't get as much time into because I was at the same time as playing this, trying to wrap up Guacamelee 2 for this episode. So I was like, I'm just going to play Conquest, which gives me the taste, gives me the thought of what I need to know about this game. And
so which one have you been having more fun with? Battlefield 5 or Guacamelee 2?
Guacamelee 2.
Yeah, Guacamelee.
And here we go, talking about Guacamelee 2. So I have been playing Guacamelee 2 since it came out in mid-August and have been putting it together. So this was fun. This one took me a little bit long. The game in and of itself, I will say, it's a independent game, platforming based game. So you're not talking about like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to beat it. It took me like almost 11.
Okay.
So like
about
what
like
you would
a
expect.
long week.
Yeah. And it took me a little bit longer to finish this and wrap this up to do this review because I wanted to do a test with this one and stream the whole thing.
That's right, and you did.
And I did. I streamed the whole thing.
Congratulations,
it was an interesting
good sir.
experience, I will say. I don't know if I am the type of person who can stream a full game like that, or if I'm one who just like streams like I'm playing Fortnite right now. I'm playing Overwatch right now.
Because
it felt somewhat limiting to when I felt like I could play.
Right.
And sometimes I'm like, I want to play Guacamelee too, but I don't want to be in the middle of the living room like streaming this and get commentating and talking while like Sam's trying to do stuff, or maybe it's too late at night now, or it's too early in the day, or all these different things. So I was like, it was an interesting thing. I wanted to see, and I knew this was a shorter game that I could easily like kick out and do and play. It's not like I was committing to playing The Witcher 3 or something, streaming the whole thing, my whole gameplay of that. But still, it was fun to do. Had some fun. Fuchsia popped in a couple times. You popped in once. I had some conversation with some random people who popped in. It was a lot of fun. It was still a fun thing to do. But Guacamelee 2, Drinkbox Studios is the developer of this one. Drinkbox is like Supergiant. They're one of my favorite indie game developers.
Right.
So they've made Guacamelee 2, and then the game in between was Severed, which originally launched
that's
on
where I know the name
Vita.
from. Yes.
And everything. And so now it's on iOS and stuff, different stuff like that. Fun game also. I didn't enjoy it as much as Guacamelee, but still very fun game. But Guacamelee 2 actually picks up, and while I'm not going to... This review is going to be slightly different, whereas there's not going to be like, here's the spoiler-free stuff, here's spoilers, because it's a platforming game.
Yeah,
you kind of know from the
not,
beginning what you're going to get.
You're not playing it necessarily for the story. You're playing it for the supposedly
platforming
excellent
and the action
platforming
and everything. And the story is just a thing to kind of help move from one point to the other. So I'm not going to go into that. But basically, overall, what it is, it picks up pretty much from the beginning of where Guacamelee 1 left off. In fact, the very first level, the prologue of the game, is you fight the boss from Guacamelee 1 again.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Obviously, it's like, it's not meant to be hard. It's not meant to be to take you a long time and immediately just be like, here you go, fight a boss right off the bat. It's very easy to beat him, and then it's actually like you get a trophy for beating him, and it's like, I thought that the title of the trophy is, I thought this would be harder, or this felt harder last time, or something like that when you beat him. But anyway, so you're again playing as Juan Aguate. I hope I'm saying that right.
Where is it? Yeah, Aguate.
Okay, Juan Aguate, who is an agave farmer in Mexico. And so in Guacamelee 1, he was granted the power of the luchador through this mystical mask that was bequeathed to him. And so he goes on, and in the first one, to fight Galaka, who is like the king of the undead, basically, and in the land of the dead. And so in this one, though, you're going to fight another famed luchador, Salvador, who is on a quest to basically become all-powerful by finding the all-powerful guacamole recipe from an ancient god that will once he eats it, will bestow upon him the power of all.
Excellent.
And everything. So it's this interesting thing where this one sets it up where you're going to be your main goal, and there are these 3 relics hidden throughout these temples that you're trying to beat Salvador to find, which will then allow him to activate the portal to get to all this place. And so what this does is, the interesting thing of this one, in Guacamelee 1, you had the land of the living and the land of the dead. And in this one, you have that as well, and you can switch in between them. I don't know if when you saw me playing...
I wondered if that's what you were doing, because I noticed that every time you seemed to click whatever it was...
R2.
Yeah, parts of the map would change, and like walls would disappear, and
or platforms would disappear, color scheme would disappear. Yeah, it's because you're switching between the living and of the land. The land of land of the living and the dead is what you're switching between. And so the whole thing of this one then introduces all these different timelines, because all these different portals and like rifts, time and tears in time and space start happening once Salvador begins on his quest. And so you're jumping between all these different timelines. There's like the darkest timeline, all those others, which is the one that you spend the most time in. So there's like the darkest timeline, like you like everybody's dead, or like a lot of people have been dead. It's different from the timeline that you're normally in. So it gets kind of confusing and jumping around and all those different things, but it does allow for all these fun interactions and comments and dialogue options that you have with people. But so the main stuff of the game is there. It's still an action platformer. You're running around. You're beating up skeletons and other mythical creatures like
Tiny
chupacabras.
dragon boys.
Oh god, those are so hard. Those like came out of nowhere.
Tiny lizard boys.
Fly, like heat-seeking missiles right to you. It was. Oh, those were fun to learn how to beat. Unfortunately, they had very low health, so it was like 2 punches and they'd be dead. But so yeah, there's a ton of enemies, more enemies than what were in Guacamelee 1. This one also has the ability to be multiplayer. You can play it co-op. You can you can actually do 4-player.
I was because I saw that you pulled up the menu once when you were looking at your different costumes, and I saw 4 characters.
Yeah, you can play 4.
You can play with 4 people at a time.
Yeah,
that sounds like a wild time.
Oh, it would be so fun.
Yeah,
because so you can be Juan, or you can be his this other luchador or luchadora that you meet. You meet her in Guacamelee 1, Tostada.
Tostada is best.
Yes.
Girl.
I played as her for a little bit. I changed costume to be Pinata Tostada.
Pinata Tostada.
It was great. I loved it. But switch back to Juan just for the consistency because that's what I've been playing for the rest of the game as. But so you're going through this and then you still have all this. So you go on, you set off on your quest to basically save the Mexiverse, as the game calls it, help defeat Salvador. So that's the basic story overload here. But a lot of stuff stays similar from the game, from Guacamelee 1 to Guacamelee 2. The same great art style. It's very bright. It's very colorful. Definitely, obviously, has very strong influences, and it is based around like Mexican mythology and lore and all this other stuff. And so it has those bright, colorful feel. You know, like if you were to like watching Coco or something, like that. Just has everything's bright and colorful and wonderful, even in the different lands of the dead and land of the living. It's not like the land of the dead suddenly becomes gloomy and depressing and dark.
No, it's very like
bright.
Neon.
And it has this just different flair to it. It's just great. I love the art style of this game. Like I said, there are more enemies. The one big thing that I did love the best about this one, though, is that they really improved and really made your chicken form. Like, that's a whole nother thing here. Like, you can become a chicken because you learn and are granted abilities by this mythical man, Hue Chivo, who is based on a creature in Mexican mythology of Hue Chivo, which is basically like a half beast, half man kind of guy. And Hue Chivo in the game is half man, half goat. And so he'll walk up to you as a goat, then transform into a man, like be sassy and sarcastic and give you some knowledge and give you new power up or ability, and then change back forward into a goat.
I mean,
and go.
If you could be a goat, wouldn't you be?
I don't know. I'm not as into goats as everybody else.
I'd live the goat life. Just get to do your own thing up on a mountaintop, eat anything you want.
Goating it up.
Goat at people.
Yeah.
Get them with your horns. That's what I want to do.
They're kind of testy. The Hue Chivo he's kind of temperamental. But anyway, so you find these statues and you can get new powers from him. But basically, he's the one. He gives you this ability once in the very first game. You get this to become you transform into a chicken and be able to use pollo power, basically, as it's called. But basically, in the first game, if I remember correctly, it was pretty much you could transform into the chicken. You'd get through smaller areas. I don't even remember if you could fight as the chicken. I'm leaning to say, correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, but like I'm wanting to say you couldn't fight as the chicken. It was basically just like as another, maybe you had basic attacks, but it was pretty much you used it to get through different areas, different environments.
It was just part of the puzzling and the platform.
Exactly. But this one, they really fleshed it out, gave you your own special moves like power-ups and other things like that. Because now you could like wall jump as the chicken. You could hold down X and you would glide after you jumped up. You had like a super jump,
you
a
had
power
like a
shot.
Jump and then you can continue to glide.
It's called like pollo shot, where it's like boom, like, and you'd do like this upward dive really quick or a downward dive, and you'd be able to bust through the enemy shields and all this. Or you could do this like pollo shot, I believe, which is where it was you just scoot along the ground really quick and like throw enemies up. Great. And so I really
Do you mean pollo slide?
Yes, pollo slide. Thank you.
You said pollo shot and then also pollo shot.
Oh, sorry. So pollo shot is one up in the air that you do in the air. Pollo slide, is the one on the ground. And so it just added for all these different things. And this one too, it would have several instances where you would have to be as Juan or Tostada if you were playing as Tostada, and you're jumping around doing your thing in human form, but then you'd have to instantly switch into chicken form to either take out some enemies, because that's one of the things that it does for the combat in this game is at certain points, certain enemies, the normal enemies, you just come up, you punch them, you beat them up, you do your moves, whatever, you're done. Some enemies can have colored shields around them that you cannot do any damage to them until you perform the move that matches that color. So you have like Rooster Uppercut, as Juan. You can't do these moves as the chicken. But as Juan, you have the Rooster Uppercut, which is red. You have Power Dash, which is blue. Frog Slam, which is green. And then KO Headbutt, which is yellow. And so and then the Pollo Shot for the chicken is purple, and Pollo Slide is orange. Okay. So if you ever came across enemies that had that color around them, you had to perform that move, the corresponding move on them, before you could actually do any damage to them.
See.
Now, you could knock them off their feet, throw them up into the air, knock them onto the ground as much as you wanted before you did the corresponding move to them, but you could not damage them until you did that move.
Okay, I got you. That is something I did not pick up on when I was watching you play. I just didn't notice that was happening. So that's really interesting. That's a really interesting feature of the combat. I like that a lot.
Because not only are you going to be juggling environmental things, like there would be the one thing that is a lot of fun about this game is that there will be another thing that's very, I love this game, and I love it, just going ahead and throwing that out there now, but like one of the things about it is there will be the environmental aspect of it, like your typical jumps, your typical chasms that you have to get across and figure out some ways to do it. And you'll also, in the midst of this, you'll run across enemies there. You'll run down a hallway, there'll be a skeleton there, you can beat them up, move on, and you're done. But then there will be these specific rooms which you'll run into it, it'll seal the doors, the entrance and exit on both sides, and then it'll pop up and be like, Lucha! And then your enemies will spawn, and you have to like either fight a boss or like a different complex mix of different enemy styles. And then once you beat it, you get like a pinata appears, which you can punch to get health back and more gold. So it really, and in some of those rooms, sometimes it's just a room. Sometimes there's also an environmental puzzle that you have to keep in track of, because a new thing in this one also is it introduced Eagle Boost, which would be these eagles that would be like eagle figurines that would be planted around, and you could jump up to it, wait until you saw an indicator arrow extending from the eagle statue in any direction, and you would hit triangle, and it would grab on and like slingshot you.
Oh, okay.
Away. And so later on in the game, in one of the areas, there's one where you're fighting all these enemies. There are 3 eagle boosts above you, but on one side there was like lava, not a door, and the other side it was sealed off and everything where you couldn't. So you had to but some of the enemies that were attacking you had unblockable, undodgeable attacks. So you'd have to be fighting, then use the eagle boost to like shoot from one side to the other to get around the attack of the guy that you couldn't actually block, or else he'd send you flying into the lava.
I got
So it really just, and then also another layer onto this combat is sometimes enemies will be present in the land of the living and present in the land of the dead. So if they're in a different land, they'll be grayed out. You can see them. They're just grayed out.
Oh, I wondered about that while you were fighting. I saw those like shadowy figures on some of the fights, and I was like, why isn't he aiming for those?
Because you can't hurt them unless you're in their land, the land of the living or the land of the dead, respectively. But they can hurt you.
Oh, okay.
So it does then, not only then are you trying to match your attacks and combos to be able to defeat any shields that are out there. You're not only watching for any environmental things that you have to be aware of while fighting, you sometimes then have to be fighting in the different time-space portals and be switching back and forth between land of the living and land of the dead really quickly to be able to fight and defeat all your enemies. So the combat system is incredibly well fleshed out. There's so much to do, and there are these different places you can go to learn different combos. Because, you can, run up to somebody, punch, and then if you punch them a couple times, it'll pop up with the triangle symbol. When the triangle symbol pops up, that means you can grab them and perform a throw. But in this one, too, hold on. I'll get to that in a second. I feel like I'm jumping all over the place, trying to keep this really nailed down. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. But there's so much. The combat is, other than the platforming aspects of the environmental puzzles, the combat is like what makes this game. So I feel like I should be able to spend some time on here. But anyway, so you can grab these guys and throw them. But then once you throw them, they're up in the air. You could do a rooster uppercut, jump up there. But then you might have knocked some other guys down on the ground, so you can do a frog slam. So you can perform all of the moves once when you're in the air. But then as soon as you hit the ground again, you can perform the moves again.
Okay.
And you have a stamina bar that shows how many times you can do ultimate moves.
Was that your yellow dots?
Yes.
I wondered what that was. I was like, is that magic? What is that? I actually thought it was like additions to your life bar, and I was like, wow, he's dying a lot for having so many backup life bars.
Yeah, there were definitely some rooms that caused me a lot of trouble, and I got stuck in for a while. But which was one of the funnier interactions that I actually had with a person who a new viewer who I didn't know who they were.
A rando? How
a rando. It was exciting. It was very exciting. But I was playing in this one room and just getting destroyed because there was one of the enemies was
the tiny dragon boys.
No, it was this like witch doctor that would spawn new enemies, and they move and like dodge really quick. But the enemies they were spawning were these guys who had blades who would do like a like dashing attack at you, and so but they were spawning like. She would spawn these new enemies so quickly, and I just was getting overloaded, and I couldn't tell what was going on, but I couldn't get to her to kill her to end her spawning new ones so I could get away. And like I died so many times, and then
I'm
finally
sad I missed that one.
I saw in the comments somebody this person popped up, and they were just like, I gotta ask, why are you trying to kill everything? I'm like, I'm not. I just can't find the person. I can't get to the witch doctor to kill them to stop spawning everybody.
Burn.
But that also did pop me out of my face because I will say I am very much of the mindset of I gotta kill all enemies.
Okay.
And so once they said that, I was like, oh. You're right. I don't have to kill everybody. And then I got out of it very quickly.
For God's sake, Jerrett.
I was just like, you know what? I just said, thank you, Bagel Thief, I believe was your name. If you're listening, I'm like, thank you very much. I appreciate you getting me out of my own head and letting me get through this because or else I would have been here for forever. But no. And so in this one also then threw in the extra added thing from Guacamelee 1, different from Guacamelee 1, is that there were now these trainers that you would meet across the map. These trainers would then have these purchasable skills that you could have. Like they either upgraded your special abilities, they either gave you where your hit meter wouldn't reset until you'd been hit 3 times. You would get more gold after a certain amount of hit combo because you could get the more times you hit, your hit meter would like build up and show how many hits you got and all that stuff. And so you would start getting rewards based off of how high you could get your hit meter. But then one of the trainers basically introduced wrestling moves, which you could perform these moves after you grappled with triangle when the triangle thing showed up. And then you could do either like a super punch, a super kick, something else that wasn't one of your normal super moves. So it just really added in all these different things. And so the combat could get very complex because you'd be fighting as Juan and needing to switch to the chicken mode, switch back to Juan, jump around, move all these different things. It was just made for an incredibly, just really great combat mode. And I know it probably looked really frenetic because there could be some rooms that just had like tons of enemies in there and lots of stuff's happening. You could also dodge. That's the other big thing. Your like main defensive capability is you can dodge. So if enemy attacks, you hit L2, you'll roll out of the way. You can roll through some obstacles. Like there'll be like these thorny vines that block a path. You can roll through it with your dodge, so that's kind of how you can get it. You can even do it in the air to like dodge air projectiles and different things like that. So all these things built together just make for an incredibly complex, really, combat system. But like I said, that's what makes the game. Is just because of how much fun it is to do these different combos, to see them all your enemies like explode, and obviously everything's like pinata-esque where everything like explodes and there's more bright, colorful things.
There's confetti.
If you get really high on your hit meter and it expires, then like Uechivo or one of your trainers will like pop up and it'll be like, yeah, and like all this other stuff. It's great. That's so really fun. Funny. It's so fun.
I mentioned this to you while I was watching you stream. The more I saw of Guacamelee 2, the more it reminds me of the old school 2D side-scrolling Metroid games. Like this looked very much like a sort of different stylized take on, for example, Samus Returns for the 3DS. Yeah. So I will say that I feel like people who enjoyed that kind of game, like the Metroid style games, this looks like a really good match for that type of gamer.
Agreed. It is very much a Metroidvania platformer. In fact, I was even reading up on it and saw, and I mentioned this to you while we were talking about it, that they do actually pull another inspiration straight from Metroid, other than the platforming style, is that the statues where you find Uechivo, they call them in-game Chuzu statues, which is a riff off of, in Metroid, the Chozo or Kozo statues.
I say Kozo. I will say Chozo. That's the second hill that I'll die on. The Battlefield 5 hill. And no, wait, the Spider-Man hill. I'll die on my Spider-Man hill, and then I'll die again on my Chozo hill. It's the Kozo.
I must say, Kozo sounds better
than
Chozo.
Kozo sounds so much better. Chozo is a stupid word.
So, but that was another thing that I loved about this game, too, and it made me really want to go back and play it in Guacamelee. and replay Guacamelee 1, because I didn't remember this as much in Guacamelee 1, is how many references and like Easter eggs there are to things in Guacamelee 2. They're either in voice lines. Like what I picked up on just from so far was, and I'm probably missed some too, but there I saw Star Wars, like a character calls you Padawan, / there were these posters for a luchador poster for Boba Fett. Loved it. There was a poster for Garfield, randomly, Garfield the cat. Obviously Metroid because of the Chuzu statues. And then there was also, I found like there would be these random just like art murals and wall paintings in the background. And I won by a save point. I saw it, I stopped, and I said, that looks like Pikmin. And so I sent a screenshot of it to Mogan. I was like,
really
is this
nice.
Pikmin?
It's
And she was like,
definitely
it's
Pikmin.
definitely Pikmin.
Definitely
and so
Pikmin.
there's all these little things for you to look around and to find, and like cultural references, meme references. It's great. I loved it. All these little fun things they throw in.
The humor seems to be really nice.
Oh,
in
it's
Guacamelee
very well
2.
written.
It's like a very lighthearted, funny, meant to be funny game.
Oh yeah. I mean, the main guy, the main bad guy. His goal is to find a mystical bowl of guacamole. Like how great!
It's pretty awesome.
It's so fun. I just love the full feel and the atmosphere of it. Is, I mean, it's the same way with like Mario or something like that. It's very fun and lighthearted, but this game seems to take that even to like the next level. It's just like we're all here to have a great time. You know what I mean?
We're just all here to be luchadors and fight and eat guacamole.
Become chickens, unleash your pollo power.
I did love the parts where you were playing as the chicken.
Right.
And I was very sad to learn that you cannot 100% the game as the chicken.
Which, yeah, I kind of think that would be fun if there was a way to do it. But I also like I said about the combat, I like how much you have to switch between Juan and the chicken.
Right.
That you don't have, you can't just like play as Juan and get through all these easy parts and go through the whole game, not even use your chicken abilities. They really force that on you, and the changing in between them all is excellent.
Also, crucial question. Did you ever unlock the coveted chicken outfit?
Oh, I haven't got it yet. I'm assuming because that's another thing that they added into this one is in Guacamelee 1, you could uncover these chests that would increase your health and increase your stamina. You would have to find like 3 of them to fill in the big pieces of a heart, and then that would grant you the bonus permanently to your health and your stamina. But alongside this one, they had all of those. Then they also had just normal like gold chests you could find to all these different things. But in each one of those, you couldn't just stumble upon them and do them. You'd have to solve some kind of environmental puzzle to do. And those got pretty complex.
Good.
Like honestly, there were times I'd be doing them and then realize I'd been trying to get this same chest for 15, 20 minutes and then be like, oh wait, this is not very fun content for people to be watching. Again, because I was streaming the whole thing, and I'm like, okay, I got to move on. And so, like, eventually, as it came on to the later parts of the game, I still found quite a few, and upgraded my stuff. I didn't find them all, but there's so much stuff. I was actually talking with Bagel Thief after they told me to move on from that area. I was talking, and because they had already beat the game already, and they're like, there's so much content to this game. And I said, I know there really is. Like, I feel like there's just so much to do. And one of the trophies you can get is to 100% every area. So the completionist in you is, you can go out and do that. This is one that I would like to eventually, over time, I think, try to get the platinum for. I'm not going to shoot for it immediately because one of them is that you have to replay the game on hard mode to get the trophy.
Oh, gotcha.
And so, like, I don't want to do that right now. I just beat the game.
Right.
I want to move on to play some other things and stuff like that. But there is just a lot you can do with it. Let's see. What else do I got? I will say, I've talked a lot about the combat and all that stuff. But this really, in terms of controls and all the things you're having to do, I want to say it's the most complex platformer I've ever played.
This is definitely making me really want to play it. It looks like such a fun game. I think I probably will buy it now because it looks awesome.
$19, $20. I pre-ordered it and with my PS Plus discount got it for like $15. So, and then Guacamelee 1 is probably $10 to $15 at this point.
I probably will try to wait it out though for a sale. I bet that's probably the type of game that's likely to go on PS Plus sale, something like that.
Oh, yeah, they will.
I'll probably wait it out a little bit, but when I do eventually see it, I want to snatch it up.
Oh yeah, because I really do. It legitimately is. There are so many things just between obviously your X, circle, triangle, and square buttons, doing your different combat moves. Like the pollo shot for the chicken one, you have to hit the up in. You have to tie in 2 directional keys. You have to do it at an angle, basically, like the up and right at the same time. Which I actually played this on the D-pad, not the sticks.
Good.
Right.
That's much more fighting game, and based on the amount of combos that you've told me are available in this game, this reminds me of like platforming Tekken.
Oh yeah, and so it really is. It's just you're using what feels like every button all the time.
Good.
Especially with like the rolling, for your dodge, the switching in between the land of the living and the land of the dead. There's just so much action going on. It just really you have to be on your toes, and which makes it feel very. You're just very engaged the whole time.
I do wonder if this kind of game feels really different on PC, because it's also available on computer, isn't it?
It is. And now here's the thing I will say. I beat Guacamelee 1 on the computer.
Oh, okay. So I wonder, like, did you find that it was really different playing with like a keyboard setup, for example, versus the controller?
I think overall I enjoy the controller more. But I did sometimes feel like using the triggers felt odd.
Okay.
For some reason. I can't even really put a reason why.
Well, it's because you're so used to shooting, Jerrett. You've got to branch out, bro.
But no, because I would use the trigger, L2 is your roll, R2 is your switch to Land of Living, Land of Dead.
Right.
And for some reason, I don't know, just those buttons felt odd for some reason. Like maybe I would have, and I could have remapped it.
I was about to say, was there an option to remap the buttons?
Maybe there was a different control scheme I could look at.
Yeah.
But if they had been on like the bumpers instead, L1, R1.
I gotcha.
I don't know why. Just for some reason that button, those felt odd sometimes.
Huh.
I don't really know why.
Well, that sounds like a you problem, buddy.
And it probably is. It honestly is.
Yeah.
And even like I said, this is the thing that I really enjoy this game, even though, like I've said before, puzzle games sometimes aren't really my thing. I do love a good platformer, but sometimes like environmental puzzle things can get very difficult. But this one, I feel like it's easy to figure out the solution, but not necessarily easy to put the solution into practice.
So the execution is what's getting you.
Well, because like there would be sometimes you're having to, like one of the later environmental puzzles I found out about was this. There were these basically just like zigzag spikes that you had to get through somehow. But you could get through them only by doing your power moves. Now, remember I said your power moves you can only do once in the air.
Right.
But there are these refresher things that you could hit. These like glowing yellow balls that basically you would hit that and that would refresh your super moves. So you had to do this move, getting around these zigzag spikes in the air without touching the ground, because also you would die, by doing your combo moves only.
Gotcha.
Super complex. And then you land, you're finally like, oh, great, that's part one. And then there will be another, you have to like go up and you have to use the eagle boosts. But there will be spikes on the walls that can't hit the eagle boost, but you can tell that if you switch between Living and Land of the Dead, it'll create a solid wall that'll block the spikes. So you can jump to the wall, but then when you switch Land of Living, Land of Dead, the eagle boost wouldn't be an option anymore. So you could be on the wall and be like gripping the wall to jump off the wall. But you have to jump off the wall, switch, eagle boost, switch back, land on the wall. Like, be doing like some random combo like that to get up this place. So it's just so much to think about. So you can be like, okay, I know what I need to do.
But can
I do it? That was really the big question throughout the whole game.
It's like, it's not a lack of knowledge, sir. It's a lack of skill.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do I got here? Tons of additional stuff. And just overall, I'd say it was more difficult than original Guacamelee.
Good. I feel like in a sequel I feel like that's the natural progression.
Which is nice because you run into the game. I've played Guacamelee. I remember how Guacamelee felt and how it played. I roll over that into Guacamelee 2, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've got my combat. Your super moves carried over from the uppercut, frog slam, headbutt, and dash. Those were from Guacamelee 1. So you're like, okay, I remember how to use those. I remember how to pair those up. But they threw in just enough stuff where you're like, well, what am I going to do here? So the one, couple things that were kind of knocks that I would say not killed my joy at all about the game. Just the couple things I didn't like. The chicken moves sometimes did feel very difficult to use. Like sometimes I ran into this, and it could be too also from I was running into it with I was getting platformer fatigue, like I'd been playing too long, and then all of a sudden, nothing was wanting to work. But sometimes I felt like getting the Poyo shot and in the direction I wanted. I would hit. I felt like I'm not saying the game was doing this to me. I'm saying it's definitely me, but I feel like I was hitting the one to go an up and to the right for the Poyo shot, but it would send me down and to the right, and then I'd die. And I'm like, why? Why did that just happen? And so sometimes I felt like And then especially too there would be these training rooms you can go to learn new combos and to master new combos. You'd find this guy Flameface, who was actually a boss from Guacamelee 1, but now is teaching you. You would do he would like teach you all these combos. I could easily always do the ones as one. Maybe mess up a couple times. But the chicken ones, like that was one of the spots, like I was doing chicken ones and I had to leave. I was like, okay, this is taking too much time. I cannot get this simple thing. And like, again, I was having the move down, but for how it was like reading back in the game and everything, I was like, this is not working. I don't understand what's going on.
Maybe you just don't have the power of the Poyo in
Maybe
you.
Maybe not. I have not been blessed by the power of the Poyo. And then the other thing is the length in between bosses sometimes felt just almost too long.
Oh, really? You felt like there weren't enough bosses? Or not
that there weren't
frequently
enough. I it felt like they were not frequently enough. Like you would get into the new area and be like going through these new things, and I'd be like, I've got to be almost there. And I pull up the map, and I'm still so far away from where I need to be. I'm like, and in this game, like you'll sometimes be going up, and then you'll go to the right for a really long time on the map, and then you'll fall down and then have to go back up some other way. So the map is not linear in any means. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
And so it just sometimes I would get to all these different things, like fight all these different rooms. I'm like, okay, I'm not there yet. Like I don't know. Not a big thing again, and it was real. And I would have that feeling for just a little bit, and then a few minutes later, I'd hit the boss.
Right.
It just was basically just like, okay, I feel like that sequence could have been just a little shorter. Maybe I didn't need all those rooms, all those environmental puzzles that it had to do. But I mean, at the end of the day, like I'm not like bad on you, Guacamelee 2.
How dare you give me more content to play through?
Exactly. This one had a lot of, and I think that's honestly what was the difference. Is I was used to how quickly I played through Guacamelee, and this one just expanded so much on it.
Right.
I think I would just in my head had a different anticipation of what to expect.
Right.
But like I said, still not a game breaker, a deal breaker by any means. The one final note is the soundtrack is just as good as the one from the last one. Which is obviously, spoiler alert, that's going to be our soundtrack spotlight, is going to be music from Guacamelee 2. Same composers, Peter Chapman, Ron DePrisco, and Michelle Frey returned to do the music for this game. It still has that very like techno mariachi sound. That's how I'm describing it.
Genre of music.
It definitely has moments of it that feel very 8-bit, 16-bit kind of style music, what you would expect from an older platformer game, but it still just has a more fleshed out sound, more modern, more developed. I love it. It's great.
You should
it's
listen
great.
to it
Something
at the
great
gym.
to have. Yeah, I should. I was actually listening to it while I was getting set up and everything set up for this recording, because it just really is. It's just a great soundtrack to have on as either background music for studying, listening, because it's just got enough beat to like keep you interested, keep you dancing. It's great. It's great. I think everybody should listen to it. But overall, love Guacamelee 2. I think if you are a fan of platformers, especially looking for a more complex adventure than what your normal platformer fare, I think Guacamelee 2 is an excellent choice for you. I would rate this game 90 out of 100.
Wow, very nice.
It's
so
great.
fans of Metroid, Ori and the Blind Forest, Celeste, etc., all of them should play
In terms
Guacamelee 2.
Yeah, in terms of complexity of controls and stuff, I would say Ori and the Blind Forest probably matches closest to what
Gotcha.
I've played of platformers. So I would definitely say fans of that game and everything like that. I really think people should go back and play Guacamelee 1. It's a great game too. It came out in 2014. It's not that old. So play that one, play Severed, play Guacamelee 2. All the games by Drinkbox are fantastic
Yay,
games.
Drinkbox! Woohoo!
I will say though, now that I've beat this one, I'm ready to get back into a big open world game. I've played a lot of platformers lately because I beat Tropical Freeze, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze
right.
recently.
Oh yeah, that's a platformer.
I played Overcooked 2 is platformer
Esque.
esque, not really, but and then Guacamelee 2. So I'm ready to get back.
You're on a nice indie roll.
I am. It's
well,
been great.
Donkey Kong's not an indie, but
It's not an indie, but I mean Overcooked 2, Hellblade, and then Guacamelee 2.
That's
so
right.
I'm ready to. I'm ready for now. I will say, now that I beat all these, I'm ready for that Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
And it's coming out pretty soon.
Pretty soon. I have 2 weeks left.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Oh my God. There's just, we have a burden of choice here.
Oh, absolutely we do. So really quick, let me see. I had my music. I had it right here. Soundrack Spotlight.
Do you want me to stall while you're doing that? I'm stalling, everybody. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I sure do like kittens. They're so fluffy and great. I love talking about it. I'm really bad at stalling.
All right, so the soundtrack spotlight for the day, like I said, we are going to be featuring music from Guacamelee 2. Again,
Also, you guys can't see it, but the cover art for the soundtrack is just excellent.
a singing chicken.
It's just a singing chicken.
Oh, that was the one thing that I loved. Whenever you would finish the, you would find like a full health heart or a stamina skull. You would complete, and then all these like chickens with halos of them would like pop into the screen and be like,
That's
like,
really funny.
with like horns and everything. Celebrate.
I love chicken.
Every time it happened, I'd say, "Rejoice, my chicken brethren!" But anyway,
Awesome.
So featuring music from Guacamelee 2. Again, the composers are Peter Chapman, Ron DePrisco, and Michelle Frey. The song I will be using from the soundtrack is Badlands, which is the Land of the Living version. Because in this game, they have different soundtracks based on if you're playing it through Land of the Living or Land of the Dead. So this is the Land of the Living version of Badlands. So check that out after the close. But until next time, this has been an episode of Team Chat Podcast. I hope everyone will give Guacamelee 2 a chance. It's a great game. Look forward to hearing your thoughts, feelings, and opinions on it as well. And yours too, whenever you finally get around to
I
playing
am
it.
very interested to banty around our opinions of it. I'm sure they'll be very similar.
I want to play some couch co-op on it sometime.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That'd be
Wait,
fun.
did you get it for PS4? Okay, sweet. Awesome.
Yep. I
Good to
did.
know.
So anyway, check out that game if you so please. But until next time, everybody, I've been one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined by Rachel Mogan.
Adios.
We'll see you all next time. Stick around for the song.